Welcome back to Horror Movie Hat Trick. Jason, how you been?
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Excellent.
Thanks for asking.
Excellent. Jason just celebrated an anniversary. Happy anniversary.
6 years, we made it. Everyone had the over-under. Suck it.
And thanks for inviting me out. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So since it's October, we are covering monster movies this entire month. And what's a more iconic monster
Then Congress.
Yes. As well as Dracula.
Oh yes, Nosferatu.
So we are covering...
He's got my district.
We are covering not just Dracula, aka vampire movies, but we are covering vampire comedies. Yes, it's generally pretty difficult to take something that's traditionally scary and transform it into something that you can laugh at without it being ridiculous.
Well, comedy's very subjective, right? We don't all laugh at the same things. But suspense and thrillers and drama is more universal, right?
Yes.
None of us wants to be stabbed to death.
And so we picked 3 different movies from 3 different decades.
Yep.
And the first of those movies is The Fearless Vampire Hunters. Jason, tell us about The Fearless Vampire Hunters.
Yep. Let's get into it. The Fearless Vampire Hunters. Professor Abronsius and his naive assistant Alfred travel to the depths of Transylvania in search of vampires. They come to an old inn where people say, hey, there's no such thing as vampires, but they got garlic hanging up all over the place. Alfred, played by Roman Polanski, falls in love with the innkeeper's daughter, Sarah, played by Sharon Tate, his soon-to-be real-life wife. And through hilarity...
wackiness ensues. Essentially, wackiness ensues. This is it's a very 60s movie. I think this is like 1967?
Yeah.
So 1967, it's very zany. It's on that, I believe this is the same year that Casino Royale came out, and it's very much the same tone.
In the same vein as like Pink Panther.
Yes, very much the same tone. It's wacky, it's crazy. It's very 60s in the fact that it's exploring what movies can do, what's allowed. Just 7-8 years earlier, Psycho came out, and it was the first movie to show a toilet. They really had to fight to show belly buttons. So this movie is far different than that. In the opening scenes, we see our protagonists going to this inn. They then have to eventually hide under a table from some intruders, I believe. And the main protagonist just instantly reaches out, grabs a woman's boobs. Just plays with her titties. Just instantly.
That's right, I forgot about that.
It was completely...
casual sexual assault. It's Roman Polanski, by the way.
By today's standards, not really
I think
acceptable.
by that standards, it's not so great.
And then in the following scenes, they rush into a woman in the bathroom who's in the bathtub at the same time. Very reminiscent of Casino Royale for me.
It's bawdy. It has a 60s sort of bawdiness to it.
Filmed on a soundstage in many parts. Many of the outdoor scenes are on a soundstage, very obviously. So it's very of its time, 1960s.
Right.
So we've introduced our protagonist and our antagonist, the local Dracula. What is his name in this movie? I don't remember.
Count Von Cluck or something. And he's got a real creepy son.
Yes, so the Count comes down, snatches the woman out of the bathtub, and we are then introduced to our, as you alluded to, there is a vampire in the town, but we don't know that, no one will admit it. Suddenly, vampire snatches away a beautiful young woman, and we are introduced to our antagonist. And as you said, kind of, or as I said, wackiness ensues, and the son is introduced.
So there is wackiness, but I will say that it's not dialogue-driven wackiness, it is physical comedy.
Yes.
So this script on paper probably looks very, very serious. It is a serious vampire movie. It's not jokey magoos, right?
No.
It's people getting stuck in windows as they're going to impale a vampire.
Yes.
Your mileage may vary on that, but I will always appreciate physical comedy in something like this as opposed to yucks, right? And I don't think it's as prominent in this movie. I think the comedy it's there, but I don't think it's as in your face as the trailer, which is ghastly, will make you think that it is.
Who says vampires are no laughing matter? They certainly are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of physical comedy. There are a lot of those sped up scenes, kind of Benny Hill-ish, where if you look at the slip and fall scenes early on, and a few
The
other
skiing
things,
scenes.
there are a lot of kind of sped up Benny Hill flavored wacky comedy. I will say that I despised this film. I hated it for wasting my time. I think Roman Polanski has done many good movies. This was not one of them.
Okay.
Jason, what did you think?
Well, first of all, this movie is centered around Roman Polanski romancing Sharon Tate, who becomes real life, his wife in real life.
Happy anniversary, by the way. I don't know if that's all.
You did. So it's hard. What happened to both of them in real life sort of colors my viewing of this film. I can't watch this film as it was released in 1967 without knowing that this is the first step in a series of events that will lead to Sharon Tate's real life murder.
What, she was murdered?
Okay, buddy.
Hang on a second. Oh, that is not a comedy at all. That is horrible. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I actually did not know. I didn't look up anything about this movie ahead of time. I didn't realize it was Sharon Tate.
Her name's infamous if you know anything about true crime.
Yes. And so, yeah, that did not color my perspective of this movie. I hated the comedy. I hated the casual sexual assault. I hated the sound staginess of it. I really did not like it. What?
I love the sound staginess of it. I'm a big fan of Hammer horror, and when they're walking towards a matte painting, I'm in love. I love the sets. I love the music. It all works in Congress to create this vibe that I was really, really into. I actually found it quite charming. And I found the comedy was sort of scaled down and it wasn't as prominent as it could have been. And I felt like it was really restrained in its dialogue. There were large pieces of just set and music and physical acting going on together that, I found really charming. I like the movie.
Well, I would not recommend it, but if you like 60s wackiness, if you like some Benny Hill sprinkled in with your horror, then Jason recommends it.
Yeah. All right, next up is Vamp, 1986. Grace Jones coming off of A View to a Kill, Conan the Barbarian. She stars, question mark, in this 1986 vampire comedy.
Yeah.
And I made you watch it.
You did.
Did you ever have one of those nights? Hey, where are we going? Doesn't matter. What counts is that you're my buddy. My day didn't start off too well.
We be looking for ya.
Are we jumpy tonight?
And then it got worse.
We're here.
And then...
Gentlemen, I give you Katrina.
Yes, 1986, and this movie is very 80s. It starts off as a 80s college travel flick, which I think we'd all be kind of familiar with. It's two kids who are pledging a fraternity, and they're too cool for school. They don't want to go through all that pledgy stuff. So they say, hey, let us get you a stripper instead. We're going to go procure you a stripper, and just don't make us, put stuff in our hair and paddle our behinds and whatnot. And the fraternity, of course, says, okay, because there's no way that we could actually find a stripper in 1986. So they go about trying to find the stripper. They have to go 200 miles for whatever reason.
They are 2 hours away.
In this movie, 2 hours away. So whatever reason in this movie, a college campus has no strip clubs within 2 hours.
Well, their plan, if I can interject, they have $186 between them.
Yes.
And they are a 2-hour commute from the nearest strip club they can find in the paper. So their plan is to get a stripper to commute 4 hours for one dance for $186.
Remember, this is the 80s, though. So gas was, 50 cents at the time? And I'm sure $186 was a mighty princely sum
It
back
was like
then.
$195 back then.
So they go meet the rich kid on campus, and I actually really like that. Oh, I should introduce the actors of this film. One of the stars, Mr. Makepeace, was in Meatballs and a couple other 80s films.
In my notes, he is not Kirk Cameron.
He is not Kirk Cameron. So there's Mr. Makepeace from Meatballs.
And then the other guy, AJ.
Other guy,
what's his name? I know it. Hang on. I have Robert Russler. Now, I don't know about you. I'm watching him on screen, and I'm thinking, this guy's got to be a gay porn star. He just has to be. So I looked him up. I'm like, nope. He was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
He was?
Which is pretty close.
I do remember him from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
It's starting to happen again.
Jesus. Hey, man. What the fuck's wrong with you, dude?
And our third guy, the uncool one,
Yes.
is the rich kid on campus.
Yes.
Getty Watanabe from 16 Candles.
Yes. Getty Watanabe from 16 Candles.
Oh, you're going to pronounce it right? You made me look like
yes,
a real jerk.
Yes, I am.
Thanks, buddy.
And I love the fact that they never really play off of his Asianness, which is really unnatural for an 80s movie. They don't say, hey, we've got this rich Japanese kid on campus, he doesn't have a goofy accent. He could have been played by a white guy. There's nothing
they
written,
just treat him like garbage.
Yeah, but there's
Like he's any other garbage person.
There's nothing written in this movie that makes him play off of the stereotypical
Yes.
Asian.
It's very progressive.
So for the 80s, I would say it is. Anyways, they go to the strip club, and from here it turns into a vampire movie, which I really like. It's reminiscent of Dusk Till Dawn, where we start off with one movie, and suddenly midway it switches to a totally separate movie. We are now in a horror film, although it's a horror comedy. It's very reminiscent of a 80s sitcom. This is about 90 minutes.
I'll tell you exactly what it's reminiscent of. Martin Scorsese's After Hours and Fright Night, which had both come out the year before.
Yes.
It's absolutely with a sprinkle of American Werewolf in London. But please continue.
And so they show up at this strip club where Grace Jones comes out and doesn't strip. She takes off a robe and then wears some weird wire bikini thing.
She is painted in like a Keith Haring type body paint.
Yes.
Dancing with a chair to one of Grace Jones's own songs.
Yes.
And I have to say, it's the highlight of the movie. It's a Hollywood strip club. I think only one girl out of 10 takes her clothes off in it, which is fine. But actually, Grace Jones commands the screen. At that moment, the movie turns.
Wait till those whips and dips if I see this.
And you think it's going to become a Grace Jones movie. Because she is great on screen. You can't take your eyes off of her.
She gets up there, She dances, but it's not really a dance. She just moves around and gyrates a little bit.
It's a dance. Don't be a jerk.
She gets up and then does like this weird like electrocution thing on top of this chair. It's very kind of unsexy, at least to me.
It was fantastic.
And right before this, there was a very curvy blonde in a construction worker outfit who had been dancing on stage. They don't choose her. No.
She was affordable. She might need
She was very affordable.
They go to the headliner.
They go to the headliner and they say, hey, we want you to come back. Actually, they just send the cool guy of the three to go try to talk her into coming back with them. And instantly he gets bitten in the neck and dies. So it doesn't get turned into a vampire, just dies.
In the trash.
They throw him in the trash can, and there he stays, while our other character meets a young lady.
Might I say, the movie improves. As soon as that actor goes to the trash can, I'm like, oh, thank God.
Well, and also because at the same time they introduce Amaretto, who, of course, it's strip club. Everyone is named after a liquor or a
she
drink.
has to say, that's not my real name. I love this character. She's great.
Yes, and she's another 80s actress in a few different movies. Never the star, always the starlet. I don't know.
She was adorable. She was great.
She was great. Introduces the kind of love, the love interest of our character. So from there, as we said earlier, wackiness ensues. Vampires run amok. These two try to get away, along with their Asian friend, rich guy friend, who ends up getting whacked off. Wait, that doesn't sound right, does it? Ends up getting whacked? Killed off, whatever. Anyways, there's
You have to edit this show.
there's a horde of albino bikers, or what was that?
There were just happened to be albino bikers these guys ran across. They're like the bikers in Friday the 13th Part 3.
Well, I think the only people that come out at night here are vampires or albinos.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, sun's down,
It's
party
New York
time.
City. Or something. It's a city. It's a nondescript city. It's a bad neighborhood. Let's say it's a bad neighborhood that they get to by accident.
Yes.
And the cops don't want to come to this bad neighborhood and stop crime. And the club itself says we're doing society a favor, the city a favor, by killing people at this club. My favorite part about Amaretto is a running gag in the movie where she keeps telling Keith, I know you from somewhere, and when the time's right, I'll tell you. She's like, you don't remember me, but I remember you. She tells him like 10 times she remembers him. And I'm asking her, like, why would you ever remember this guy? He's completely forgettable. He has not one single human characteristic. He's the most boring blank guy. I'm like, how could you possibly remember him? I forgot what he looked like already.
I totally agree. Both the lead characters are pretty unforgettable, standard white guy fare for the 80s. I think that's why they had to kill off Mr. Watanabe, because he probably is the most charismatic of the characters on there. He's really kind of fun and out there, and he wants to party. He's written kind of ham-handedly.
He's a good actor. He was great in 16 Candles. He is working overtime to make these lines work.
This stuff work. You can see him try. It's great.
He's really giving it his all, and it's just not there.
I liked it. I actually found this movie enjoyable. It moves very quickly. It's probably a little under 90 minutes.
88 minutes with credits, yeah.
Yeah, so it's very fast. I would characterize this movie as a 80s sitcom. So this is an episode of an 80s sitcom that they stretched into 80-something minutes. It would have worked way better. Two established characters. Hey, we gotta go do this thing, right? We gotta go. We have to go get our cousin away from the strip club. She's working there. So they go out there, and oh my goodness, Halloween episode. They happen to be vampires. Let's get out of here. The ending of this movie, very cheesy as well. The friend who was in the garbage can comes back from the dead to save the day.
No, to rip off Fright Night.
Yes,
except these characters have no charisma, and I don't care if they die. It would be a relief to me if they were off the fucking screen.
So I think I know where you're going with this. Jason, what did you think of this movie?
I'm going to pay this film a compliment. Or dug deep.
Okay.
Whether they are outside, underground, in an interior room, every scene is green and pink. They had two lighting gels, green and pink. And at first I'm like, are they going to use another color? And then after a while I'm like, this is I kind of love that it looks like a comic book from the 80s. The coloring choice was interesting. The costumes were great.
I think the reason why you noticed that is because everything is lit blue now. Every single thing is like...
But I was all like, everything's green and pink.
I'll take it.
Here's the problem with this movie, and it hampers it at every turn. It's not funny. It's not that one joke doesn't land. It's that none of the jokes land. And the characters are really... Grace Jones is like mesmerizing when she's on screen. I think she has 3 scenes in this movie. She either quit the movie halfway through, or they didn't like her lines and they cut her. She doesn't have a single line in this movie.
She doesn't have a line. I think that was purposeful. I think she does not, at the time, she did not have the greatest accent or...
For this movie?
So
you're gonna, not Kirk Cameron? You're afraid to show him up?
So I think that was one aspect of it. I think, number 2, they probably couldn't afford her. So they probably said, hey, come in for 2 days of shooting. You are going to be we're going to put you on the cover of the movie. She's on the cover of the movie in whiteface, by the way, and a red wig, which I didn't really get. But it was an interesting choice.
It's striking. She's striking.
Interesting choice to take the person that you bill as your top billing and then cover them up so they're unrecognizable.
Or cut them out of the movie entirely and not give them any lines.
I think they couldn't afford her. I think they said,
I think she was there. They just know what to do with her.
Come in for 2 days. This is all we can pay you for.
This was painful. It was just painful to sit through this movie. There's a reason I don't remember this movie. I'll tell you why I remember this movie. Remember the grocery store? They would have these little sticker machines. You put a quarter in, and you pull it out, and you get a sticker. And there's like 1 of 5 or 6 stickers you might get.
Yes.
There was a horror one at my grocery store, and I wanted the Nightmare one, I wanted the Michael Myers one, and there are all these good ones. And then in the corner, there's Vamp. And I got like 3 Vamps, and finally I said, fuck this machine. I'm never going to get a Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warrior sticker.
I liked it. I didn't hate it. I definitely didn't hate it as much as our first film. It was decent. It blew by. It was quick. It was fast-paced. It wasn't funny at all, but at least it didn't waste a ton of my time. Unlike Roman Polanski and his gropey-ass McGroperson film.
Ooh.
So that brings us to our final film, which is 1995's A Vampire in Brooklyn. Jason, tell us what Vampire in Brooklyn's all about.
Oh my god. You know what? Vampire in Brooklyn can't even tell you what Vampire in Brooklyn's about because they had to tack on a voiceover at the beginning of this movie.
For centuries, they have roamed the earth. Fearsome creatures of the night. Endlessly seeking to satisfy an unyielding hunger. Now, the world's last vampire is about to encounter something infinitely more terrifying than himself. Brooklyn.
Interesting. I've been stabbed, and I've been hanged. Even broken on the rack once, but I've never been shot before.
Eddie Murphy is a Caribbean vampire named Max, who comes to the city to look for a fabled half-vampire princess.
Okay.
He gets to town, and he turns this sort of rascal numbers-running guy into his ghoul to help him.
Well, I have to stop you there first. 2 things. A, he is the last vampire in the Caribbean, so he has to repopulate the islands, which used to be
vampires don't reproduce. They don't. You got that from this movie? Did you get that from this movie? Or did you get that from Wikipedia?
In this universe, I got this from the movie. That's how they introduced it. And number 2, I like the ghoul. I love the story arc of the ghoul. But continue, please.
The ghoul is from a different movie. And what's shocking about the ghoul is that the ghoul is playing the Eddie Murphy part. He is giving an Eddie Murphy, Julius is giving an Eddie Murphy performance to Eddie Murphy, who has no idea what he's doing in this movie at any time. Anyway, so he shows up and he's got to find his half-princess thing before the next full moon, or he'll die? Is that what I got?
It's not that he'll die, it's that she will never turn into a vampire unless he does it before this next full moon. She's reaching...
That is an artificial ticking clock.
By the way, is Angela Bassett, who apparently never ages. I think she is a real vampire in real life, because this woman looks amazing all the time since the 1980s. I think she's a real vampire, but please continue.
So Eddie Murphy, under the guise of Max, right? So Max needs to romance Rita, his half-vampire princess bride.
Yes.
So he does this by treating her like garbage.
I don't know if he treats her like garbage, but this is a typical Eddie Murphy movie setup, which is, I need to get this woman to like me.
But he does all the douchebag boyfriend things. He ruins her job.
Yes.
He alienates all her friends, separates her from her support network, and ruins her life until she has no choice until to dance with him.
And let me also stop you there, because this is Eddie Murphy's first film where he goes into the heavily make-upped alternate characters.
No. That was Coming to America, which was 7 years earlier.
Coming to America did a couple, but I think this is the first time where he puts on the fat suit. I think this is the first time where, and the very next year...
I will give you this. This is the time where he does it and fails.
He does a weird half-Jewish, half-Italian character with freckles. It's very interesting.
Hey, Vamp.
Put this shit on the floor. Nobody be smart. Put your fucking gun on the floor right now. Everybody, come on. Everybody, let's go. And you, into the cash register right now. Hurry up, do it. Okay, here we go. Hey, it's a lot of fucking love in this room. Look at this. Speaking of which, do you believe in love at first sight, darling?
Get the hell away from me.
Oh, trying to play hard to get, huh? Let me work on you for a little while, baby. Hey, watch it, John Chef. I'll put a hole in your afro. You're gonna be my new girlfriend, huh? Come on, here we go. Let's keep this moving. Is that register empty? Hey, what's with all of this shit? Get rid of this fucking garlic. It's all over the fucking... All the fucking garlic.
He does a fat preacher who talks about $2 whores, which I found hilarious.
It's not
Jason
funny.
Did not enjoy.
And it goes on way too long.
Let me hear y'all say it. Evil is good. That's right. Evil is good. Take Brother Brown, for instance. One of our strongest deacons. Pillar of stability. Brother Brown was down on Bushwick Avenue last night with a $2 hoe.
Oh, Cookie said, I didn't know she was no hoe.
Lying, sneaking dog, you told me you was at your mama.
Now that's evil. When you tell your wife, I'm gonna go see mama, then you go down on Bushwick Avenue and get you a $2 hoe. That's evil. But Brother Brown had a good time with that $2 hoe. You can push a $2 hoe to the line, she don't have no limits. Evil and good, they walk hand in hand.
I thought it was
Eddie
hilarious.
Murphy in this movie does not know if he's going to be funny or serious. He's just drifting, and then he puts the makeup on. You're like, okay, now we'll get an Eddie Murphy moment. But he's trying to find the joke, and it's just not there anymore.
I think you have to have a little more soul to really like this movie. I think Jason does not have a black bone in his body. Well, except for that one time. That one time he definitely did, but not this time. And so, yes, it was... I actually really enjoyed this film.
So Rita has a possibly romantic relationship with her partner. He's a cop named Justice. There's a fucking cop named Justice in this movie. My favorite scene is when they have a love scene, because there's a cutaway insert shot of the actor with his shirt off. He's got a chest double. Another actor is playing him with his shirt off. Oh, this movie was unbearable. It made no sense. I never understood Eddie Murphy's the stakes of what would happen if he didn't get her into a dance to any music. He's at a club, they're playing shitty music. He goes, oh, I'm going to hypnotize her here. It's all about... Rita's a detective. She doesn't detect a goddamn thing in this movie. She has no agency. She does nothing but get ping-ponged around between these two guys. And Eddie Murphy, he wants a soulmate for life. He's laying a real bad foundation for this relationship.
This is, I believe, the only vampire movie that we watched where the vampire actually exercises one of the key vampire skills, which is hypnotizing women. After all this time, we finally see a film where the vampire can hypnotize a woman and make her like him, but she's strong-willed. She's a strong-willed woman. She's Angela Bassett.
He ruins her life, ruins her job, gets rid of her roommate, scares away her boyfriend, and then he's like, now I'm going to hypnotize her into loving me. This guy is so creepy. If you had told me this is a movie, or you had created a story where you have an anti-hero vampire killing people, who falls in love with the detective trying to bring him to justice, I think that is ripe for conflict.
Sounds great.
Angela Bassett has no agency in this movie. She never gets to do anything. Eddie Murphy is just the classic awful boyfriend who, does he even like her, or does he just need her to stay alive?
I really liked it. I liked
He talks about mating. Vampires can't fucking mate.
Hey,
what's with the full moon bullshit?
Nobody knows this. You don't know this. This is not in the...
Okay, let me ask you this. If Eddie Murphy in this movie can change shape, if you can change shape, why the fuck would you have that haircut?
I believe this is 1995. That beautiful Jerry curl was still in style, maybe? Yeah.
You need to call animal control that
It's
haircut.
very interesting. He looks, but he looks like a wealthy man. He transforms his apartment into a wealthy man's apartment, much like Coming to America. And seduces the woman, and this is his power. He says that he can dance with women and make her fall in love at the same time.
To any song, anywhere, at any club.
Which he does. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious. I love the story arc of the ghoul, who slowly transforms over time into a ghoul. He starts by getting a couple drops of blood on his tongue from Eddie Murphy. Then body parts start to fall off.
Women. Vampire in Brooklyn.
I would love to have you for dinner.
Okay, and the other thing that I liked about it, this has, I don't know the actor's name, I am very remiss, but it's the father from the Wayans Brothers show as well as the father from Friday. This is the first time that I heard him do bang bang. And he does many other of his catchphrases in this film, so this is truly a seminal film, groundbreaking in at least this man's career, to do all of his wackiness.
Okay, so your favorite character is the sidekick who's slowly rotting to pieces.
Yes.
So then you must love the movie that this steals from, American Werewolf in London.
Yes, of course. Who doesn't love that film? And who doesn't love this film?
It's a direct lift.
Excuse me. Black people making their own version of a film, or at least their own interpretation based off of their historical, experiences. Having
Do you want to show them
Black
dig a deeper hole for yourself?
in the Caribbean highlighted in a film for once? I mean, how many Caribbean films do you know of?
How many Caribbean vampires do I know of?
Yes.
Not enough, that's true.
The thing I liked about all three of these movies is they were very much of their era.
Yes.
1960s, 1980s, and this movie, which is essentially almost in a living color series of sketches. It's a lot of characters and ideas that somebody thought up. They strung them together into a movie, and it's very 1990s. The humor,
No, it's very
the look,
1995.
the music.
It was a very bad era for horror movies. It was pre-Scream. Horror was in the doldrums. You had Michael Myers Part 6, I think, came out that year. You had Wolf, that awful movie with Jack Nicholson, right? They didn't know what to do with horror at that point.
People were trying to get back to serious horror movies because there were a series of comedic horror movies that had come out and really kind of tainted the waters, if you will. But I would recommend this film. Jason, what was you would not recommend this film, I'm guessing.
No, that was awful. It was unbearable.
I think you should watch it.
It was completely directionless. It was a movie that didn't know what to do or how to use his characters. You have a detective who doesn't detect. It was terrible. It was a real tragedy to see all these wasted people on screen. Eddie Murphy in the right role can still be good. Angela Bassett is a national treasure. How do you fuck this up? And Wes Craven, God, it was everyone's worst movie.
I dug it. So, out of our three films today, which one would you recommend? Which one actually would you say is the best film of the three?
Easy! The Fearless Vampire Hunters is number one. It's a charming movie from a great time. It evokes that horror hammer feeling, and it's not a fun movie, but it is it's not a funny movie. It's not a good comedy. None of them are good comedies.
Let us know in the comments how much you hate this movie after you watch it, please, because I despised it.
And then it's a steep drop. I would probably put Vamp a little bit ahead because I liked Amaretto, not a real name, and then dirt bottom basement is Vampire in Brooklyn. It's hot garbage.
I'm going to go the exact inverse of your recommendations. Number one, Vampire in Brooklyn. I dug it. It was fun. It was funny. It reminded me of the 90s and my childhood, and not so much my childhood.
Your childhood sucked.
Actually, yes, the 90s, that was my childhood. So I liked it. I love Eddie Murphy. I love Angela Bassett. I liked it all.
Go home, you're drunk.
And number two, I would say Vamp. It was very fast-paced. It didn't waste a lot of my time. Right. It didn't give me any chuckles, but it also didn't completely make me angry as our last film did. The sexual assault hilarity of Roman Polanski in Fearless Vampire Hunters.
Sharon Tate is gorgeous, and the music and the sets, they just create a vibe that you just don't see on screen anymore. I find it quite charming.
All right, well, we'll agree to disagree.
No. We agree. You're wrong.
So join us next week as we continue to cover more monster movies.
More monsters.
What are you going to do next week?
I don't know. We're going to have to fight about it in a Google Doc for a while.
All right. Well, cheers. So join us next time as we continue our monster movie madness on Horror Movie Hat Trick.